Welcome to the Get Offset podcast. My name is Andrew.
And I'm Emily.
And my voice is trashed.
And mine is not.
Because I was at NAMM.
And I was not.
Man, my voice is like all tore up. Like I can sort of hear it in my head, and I know like I'd be scared. I'm scared to listen back to what this like episode intro is going to sound like. Because I've been editing some of the clips I recorded, and I can tell which day it is, depending on how hoarse there's like a clear delineation. For day one, my voice sounds great. Day two, it's like, okay, like, I don't know, and like day three, it's like, I just got straight strep throat, like full on voice is just gone.
So next time, cough drops.
Cough drops would have been a good idea.
Coat.
I definitely found myself like trying to like swallow in vain, like no matter how much water I drank, my throat was just dry.
Well, water doesn't hydrate. I think we all know that.
Well, I tried. Water is free.
Throat coat's cheap. Tea's pretty cheap.
Yeah, but then you have to get hot water.
That's true. People charge you for hot water, and that blows my friggin' mind.
Yeah, well, I real quick, but I got a Brita filter water bottle, and that was probably the best thing I got, because then I didn't have to pay for water on the floor, which was pretty nice. So, anyways, so this is our NAMM episode,
this is our NAMM episode.
This is an episode where you'll get to hear what do you call it?
Retrospect? No.
Well, there will be a little bit of a retrospective. I'll get to share a couple,
like an NPR kind of.
Yeah, walking around the floor.
Yeah. So if you listen to our shows from the Tacoma Guitar Festival or the Vancouver Guitar Festival or Summer NAMM, I imagine it'll be kind of in that vein.
It'll be in that vein. We've got a handful of interviews, both inside and outside of the floor, depending on how much my guest wanted to have an excuse to get out of the barrier of noise. But some fun stuff in there. A couple of serious highlights. But before we get into that, first off, I want to shout out our sponsor for the whole trip, Covenant Cables.
Woo, good folk.
Good folk indeed. Thank you to Andy and all the rest of them beautiful chaps for supporting the show, for sponsoring us. And it was super great to hang out with them while I was down there, and looking forward to hanging out with them when I'm back up here. For those of you who don't know who Covenant Cables is a cable company, and not like, the I watch TV cable company, but guitar cables. They make great guitar cables at seriously reasonable prices for what we're looking at. So they're also just really great people. So
yeah, I mean, I'm one of their artists, and I've been for a while, and you get a little nice little discount. I got everyone in my band 35-foot guitar cables, so we can all roll into the crowd.
I'm not an artist for Covenant Cables. I'm an enthusiast, and I just could not be more excited that they sponsored the trip to NAMM.
Yeah, that's nice of them. Local homies.
Local homies indeed. It was super cool to see them down in LA/Orange County. Most of it was in Orange County, but we did party in LA as well. It was a good time.
Cool. Those are places I've heard of.
Those are places I really enjoyed being back down there. I used to live down there for a while, and I felt very much at home, especially when I hit in and out the moment I got off the plane. So,
is that the last thing you did before you got on a plane as well?
It was the last meal I ate, yeah.
Yeah. They don't have one in the airport? That surprises me.
Nope, not in the airport. So before we get into this episode, a little bit of housekeeping. I believe we're like giving some stuff away. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, we're giving away a limited edition pink grazer by our friends at Dwarfcraft Devices. Again, my favorite weird pedal. And after I shamed my singer on last week's episode, she was like, "You can put it on your board." I'm like, "You say that now." and then I play it, and you're gonna be like, "No, she loves it. She likes it." We were playing with it this weekend, so I think I've worked it back onto my board. I have a black one, and we're giving away the pink one. So head over to our Instagram and enter. All you have to do is follow us and Dwarfcraft Devices. Repost, tag 2 friends in our comments. Repost the picture with the hashtag Get Offset Grazer minus the E in Grazer. I'm sorry to be confusing, but I made the typo and then I had to roll with it.
No, it's all good.
Yeah, it is good.
I mean, it's free. And
it is free.
The best things in life, are they free? I don't know, but pedals are pretty great. So I'd say that's at least a pretty good thing in life.
Yeah, totally. And just really quickly, because we always forget this until the end of the episode, we have a Patreon, just patreon.com/getoffset, I think. We have a couple levels of support that are possible. For $25, I will write you a song. Leave us a review on iTunes. It's really helpful for us. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm so close to 500 subscribers, Andrew.
That is so radical.
Yeah, so close. I'm like 15 away.
No, it was really neat to walk around the NAMM floor and talk with everybody about the demo channel and how much success we've had this fast. And it was one of my favorite experiences, like recurring throughout NAMM, was like, oh yeah, this is what our numbers look like, and seeing people's eyes just light up with oh shoot.
Like, you've only been doing this in September?
Right?
They like the numbers, huh?
They like them numbers.
They like them
All right,
numbers.
so let's dive headlong into this episode. Ahead of you, there are interviews from some of my favorite people in the industry. There's an interview in there that I've been wanting to get for a while. There's actually several interviews in here that I've been wanting to get for a very long time.
I know there's one that we tried to get this summer, so I'm glad we finally got it.
Yep, there's that. Let's just say this right up front. We got an interview with Robert Keeley that I've been wanting to get for multiple years. Like, before I started this podcast, I knew that this is going to be what I wanted to talk to him about the moment I met him. So without further ado, I present to you Robert Keeley and the rest of my experience at NAMM.
Woo.
All right, I'm here with Robert Keeley. Robert, how you doing today?
Doing great, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing great. A little starstruck. It's great to finally meet you. I've got a question for you. What high school did you go to?
Kaiserslautern American High School in West Germany, 85 to 88.
Fun fact for you, I'm class of 2012 from the same high school.
Is that right? Holy cow. I wonder how different or similar it was.
I imagine it's pretty different. It's especially different now. I know they just demoed the building and they built a new one. But I did my last couple of years of high school in Kaiserslautern.
Is that right? No, I got my first effects pedals from K-Town, downtown music store that was down there. And we used to play guitar in that little center area. There used to be a grassy area where you could like go outside and play guitar and stuff like that, like the smoking area or something. But yeah, that was a great school, wasn't it?
It really was, and that's where I learned how to play guitar too. I joined my first garage band. We were called Rainy Thursdays. Right. We were terrible, but it was a lot of fun, and that's where I started to fall in love.
Oh my gosh. My first band there was called like Stonehenge, and we played various types of metal, good and bad.
Well, it was a pleasure to meet you. I've got one final question for you. We're at the front end of 2020. There's a lot ahead of us in the next year. What do you want to see change in the pedal industry in the next year?
Shoot, I just want more pedals to come out. I've in just the brief moments that NAMM has been going on, it's amazing the stuff I've seen from Jam Pedals and everybody else. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. It's really incredible. Tons. More pedals in 2020.
More pedals it is. Thank you so much for being on. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Standing outside, getting a little bit of fresh air and getting a break from the sound. I'm with Matthew Hoops and Mark Johnson. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Hey, we collectively are very good. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for asking.
Collectively is always a good thing.
Yes.
This whole industry is just like one giant family, I'm learning. It's really strange.
It's really relationship driven.
That is mostly true. That was one of the main reasons that I really wanted to come to NAMM this year, is just to see a lot of friends that I don't get to see in person very often.
Yep.
Oh, I'm totally with you. I mean, you guys included, a lot of people I've met on the internet, listen to your music.
and now I'm sitting here like actually talking to you guys in person. This is super awesome. So the question I'm asking everybody is, we're at the front of 2020. We got a big year ahead of us. What do you want to see change in the pedal industry?
I mean, 2020 is clearly the year of sliders.
Sliders.
Yeah.
All the
Old Blood's got
faders.
the new the faders on the new pedal, and Maris Chase Bliss collab and Chase Bliss Benson collab. So I'm gonna cut everyone off at the pass. I'm just gonna buy 6 Ibanez Echo Shifters and call it a day.
Yeah, there you go. That's gonna be the next like hot vintage pedal.
The Echo Shifter.
Yeah, look out. Buy them up now.
There we go. An Echo Shifter modified with an expression input, so you can
Yes.
use the Old Blood slider.
There you go.
That would be cool. More sliders.
That's 2020 is the year of sliders and or phasers.
And then they're going to have to do a flying pan rehoused with faders.
Anything that we can put faders on. I've actually recently commissioned a 1981 DRV with only faders.
Yes. It's in process.
Yeah, but it's the bypass switch is also a fader. It's really just a 0 to full wet
You
blend.
can kind of turn it on if you want. That's a good one. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what I would want. I keep waiting for people to get sick of amp modeling, but it just doesn't go away.
I have good news for you.
Yeah.
As somebody who cut their teeth on fake amps on Instagram for the last 4 years,
Yeah.
I in the last couple months have been telling everyone I am finally sick and tired of amp modeling.
All right.
I got a Benson Vinny, and now I've realized that anything that you have to plug into your DAW to listen to is dumb.
There you go.
I shouldn't say
No,
that on a podcast.
it's crazy. It's like the funniest. I mean, I've been using digital modeling since the 90s with like pods and like Amp Farm and like, you know, all these things.
Yeah,
but, I don't know. It's just like I like the idea of like having a little headphone setup. I love like the Boss Katana headphones.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
I think those are super fun.
The new like Waza headphone ones?
Yeah, like
they sound amazing.
Oh yeah, like that's what I'm like into as far as like modeling. Like that's an amazing use of modeling.
Mm-hmm.
But I even like think of like the best amp modelers, and I'm like, if I'm ever in a scenario live or in the studio when I can use tubes and speakers and pedals and cable, you know, just like it's if I can do it that way and like microphones. If I can have all of those, I would never choose the digital version of that. I just won't. And so though, to me, I would like to see all modeling move to like practice based and you know just kind of like screwing around at your house.
Some Instagram videos and that's about it.
It's funny you say that because
last
last few months I've been really like kicking myself. Should I just get rid of my amps and go for something digital? And I haven't sold them yet. And one of the things I'm searching for here is I've only played with a handful of digital modelers. Can I find something that's going to sound decent enough for headphones that'll make me feel okay if just an all-in-one solution? And I don't know if I'm going to be convinced. We'll find out. Tomorrow's going to be my demo day to start listening.
Okay.
The Iridium's dope. My advice, I was just talking to a friend of mine about this yesterday, actually, because he's got like a Fender Twin and a JCM head and cabinet and all this stuff. And I was going like, I mean, if you really need like an at-home solution with kids and all that stuff, if you have an amp that you just aren't that married to, that like you don't like enough that you're considering switching to digital, just sell your least favorite amp, buy an aux box. Just buy an IR loader, a load box, that kind of thing. Because then you can still use your real amp and bypass the speakers completely, except for when you need to go into the studio or play live or whatever.
The aux box does seem nice.
It's also a lot, but
it is a lot, but
it's so nice.
It adds some realness in some real tubes. And, you know, some actual circuitry is.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I also really like the direct out option on the Vinny, because you can run the Vinny into a cab sim, and that, I mean, the Vinny's so quiet that you can do it either way.
I had talked to Chris actually about releasing an amp that is, you know, full tube regular amp that also has a cab sim.
Like built into the chassis?
That would be dope.
Like out.
Yeah, that one's just got the, just like you got your 8-ohm out or your line level out. But even just the line level out, so like convenient to go, I still want my tubes, but then I can run it, I can downstream it to stereo wet effects and a cab simulator.
Right.
I mean, I talked to Grant from Big Ear about this. You know, like when he did his NAMM display, we really started looking at, because we were looking for a headphone specific setup, and we wanted to have tubes and speakers, and I forget what.
You guys ended up with the Hughes and Kettner ones,
Use
right?
those Hughes and Kettner ones, but yeah, we literally couldn't find. There's not a lot of options.
No, it's
besides
really limited.
doing an amp with an aux box,
Which is,
which is very expensive.
yeah, you're looking at like, you get a cheap, decent head, you're still spending $2,000 per setup.
Yeah.
Which for some folks, that's great. I'm not your average praise and worship musician. I don't have that much money.
Yeah, you don't have an extra like $17,000 for a new guitar rig. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, and there's also no joy in like the Kemper stuff for me, so I can't go that route. And
Yeah, it's one of those funny things where I hear people use it and it sounds good, and
Yeah.
I'm always like, yeah, if you want to use that on a recording or in a live scenario, that's great. I definitely see how it makes sense for like metal bands that
Yeah.
are
Oh, yeah.
constantly fighting like buzz
And gain before feedback and-
yeah, all sorts
Yeah.
of. I totally get like how it makes sense for them, and also like it's not like I think that Mesa Boogie or Soldano are cool anyway, so like yeah, you might as well play a Kemper of it, you know, or a,
Right.
You know, whatever heavy sounding
totally.
Diesel, Wagner.
I think a lot of that stuff, I think a lot of the like big box modeling stuff reminds me of some of those companies that make the like clinically perfect version of a Fender guitar.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's like a Telecaster but engineered by NASA.
Yeah.
And I just find myself going, I don't want to play a perfect thing. I want to fight with it a little bit.
Yep.
I feel like I get most of my like fun creativity out of the fact that like I don't actually know when the Therme is going to like throw 2 octaves down and have nothing but clock noise.
Yeah.
But it's more magical, and I would rather do that than use a digital pitch shifting device.
All right, I'm going to change the subject a little bit,
Sure.
and I'm going to plug a little bit. So what I've got here in my hands is a Fox Cairo topper on a DoD expression pedal. I brought it along just to share with it. It's not the primary reason why I'm here, but I wanted to get your thoughts and your feedback.
It's like a skate deck. I like it.
Is it like texture wise and everything?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
That's grip tape.
It's like you can, yeah.
I like how small this is.
I like the form factor of those little guys.
Yeah, I kind of want
That
everything
does-
on my board to be around the same height.
Is that expression only or just volume?
This one's expression only. The volume version of the
Only
DoD is silver chassis.
Okay. Cool.
So
Yeah, it looks great. I love it.
Yeah. So are you plugging the grip tape on top or the whole unit?
so you take off the stock topper and you install that guy. And so the
Ah.
benefits are you can get whatever artwork you want on it. You've got that heavy duty grip and it glows in the dark, which my inner child loves.
There you go.
Can I get it in those stars that used to go on your bedroom ceiling?
If that's what you want.
Perfect. In that case, sold.
And then the last question I've got for you guys is I'm trying to convince everybody, whether or not it's in vain, we'll find out, but I'm trying to convince everybody 2020 is the year of orange for the gear industry.
The amp company
Like
or the
orange
color?
amplifiers?
No, just the color orange.
Okay.
Like, does that mean that that orange by default is also going to have a really good year?
Maybe.
Disagree.
Oh yeah, is orange your favorite color?
Orange is my favorite color, and
Wow. Actually, redacted. I'm pro it only because I
Redacted.
love Albie from Sinusoid.
Yes.
no, I'm so happy he moved out to Seattle. He and I've been
I
hanging
know.
out, and
Just bonding over your love of Tropicana.
yep. And I just got that orange Jennings, and
That's right. The Jennings is orange. I should have
Yep.
realized that wasn't an accidental choice.
I'm a little bit of an orange fiend.
I forget who I was talking to, and they were like, "Yeah, orange pedals just don't sell very well." And I was like, "DS1." It's
One
like
of the most
biggest
sold-
selling pedal
Yeah.
of the whole time. Yeah. Hilarious, but yes, you should get a DS1.
Well, what I need to do is swing back around, save up a little cash, and get a DRV in orange.
Yes,
Because you did that run in
I would
orange
do-
back in October,
Yes.
and I just bought something else.
I've done 2 runs in orange.
Oh, okay.
I did one with Grant. That was the pumpkin spice orange.
Yes.
So a little different.
Pumpkin spice orange. Gosh, I need to get another DRV just to have like another cool color.
Yeah.
I got
King
my
of the
silver one,
colorway.
I got the white one.
Yeah, we need to make a Mark Johnson
Oh.
signature.
There we go.
There you
What
go.
would
Now
that
we're
be?
talking.
What would that even be? Yeah.
You know what? It's going to be orange. I've been on record for a long time as
need
my
you to-
favorite color being orange,
Yeah,
and
I need-
anybody who says that they are trying to make that happen too,
Yeah.
they're just biting me, man.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's make orange.
I mean, that's
orange
gonna-
orange is the
let's
color
do it.
for 2020. Let's do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
All right, thanks so much for being on the show. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Alrighty, I'm here with Cody at the Empress Effects booth, and we got some pretty cool release. We got I'm staring right in front of me. So I'm here with Cody. Cody, could you tell me a little bit about what you guys are releasing right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So For NAMM 2020, we're showing the Zoya, which we released as a guitar pedal, essentially, last year, but we've got it now as a Euro rack module. So it's similar to the Zoya pedal, but now you can interface it with all your other Euro rack modules, and then it's got CV inputs, CV outputs, and it's also, you can be used completely standalone as well. It comes with an optional enclosure that you can hook a power supply up to. It's got a headphone jack on it. You can just sit there and, you know, play it completely on its own.
That looks super awesome. I'm very excited to see the Eurorack. That brings it to a whole new market, which has got to be super exciting for you guys. Also super exciting. Tell me a little bit about this compressor I'm staring at. I can tell you right now it looks gorgeous.
Yeah, we're really excited about the compressor. So the compressor MK2. We released our original compressor, I think, in 2011, and so this compressor, we've kept all the good stuff about that original compressor, but we've added some features to it. We asked our customer base, you know, the things that they would like to see if we were to do an update of it, and we took all those ideas and incorporated it. So it's a smaller box, that's the big thing. It's a much smaller format, and it's got top-mounted jacks, which everybody seemed to want top-mounted jacks, so you can cram as much pedals beside each other as possible. We've also added a built-in sidechain filter. So
all right,
for bass guys especially, who, you know, they don't want to over-compress their tone with all that low frequency, you can filter 120 or 240 hertz out of the sidechain, so that basically it'll only clamp down on your high frequency stuff. And what else is new about this guy? Yeah, so actually we're releasing it in 2 different enclosures. So we've got this nice blue sparkle here that you see, and we've also got kind of a more vintage inspired brushed aluminum enclosure.
That looks super awesome. And I don't know if you know this, but orange happens to be one of my favorite colors.
Oh, there you go, yeah.
So awesome. The orange and blue one definitely has my heart. Speaking of orange, so I've got a theory, and I want to hear your thoughts on it, but my theory is that orange is the color of 2020 for the guitar industry. What are your thoughts on that?
I have been seeing some orange around here. It seems like we might be headed in that direction. We've got a beautiful orange tremolo over there too you might be really interested in, so, you know, yeah, I like that. I can see that happening.
And then last question for you, I'm asking everybody is, with the beginning of the new year, new industry. So what do you want to see out of the industry in the next year? It can be anything about products, it can be something about culture, but what do you want to see change for the better?
I mean, I guess, you know, it's a really exciting time to be in the industry right now. We're seeing like a lot of collaboration as far as, you know, like, for example, like with the Zoya, the Facebook user group of Zoya users who are sharing like patches and all that stuff, you know, completely free. It's just like a very open community. Everybody's welcome in there. Everybody's sharing ideas about how to make patches and like teaching the beginners to sort of the modular world how to build upon patches. I think, you know, that's really cool to see, like everybody sort of chipping in, helping out each other, and hopefully, you know, more of that everywhere in the industry. Yeah.
It's good to hear you say that. You're not the first person to say that today, and I'm really excited to see people actually follow through on that. And we've had some really great stuff happen, but let's see what the future's got for us. Thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure, Andrew. Thanks a lot, man. It's good to meet you.
Good morning. Good gravy. So it is now the morning of Friday, so my second day of NAMM. I haven't even left my place where I'm staying to head in yet, but got a lot of sleep last night, feeling a lot better. A little bit of a headache, but I think that's just going to be the way it's going to be for the next few days. I've got some aspirin I can take. But just wanted real quick, just debrief a little bit in my head about what happened yesterday and what I'm looking forward to today. We'll see what we get into. So yesterday, I got a couple of interviews, not nearly as many as I was planning or hoping for, but I think that's just part of the adjustment process. I mean, my first time at NAMM was a lot to take in all at once, gotta say. So a little overwhelming, admittedly, but I managed to get my head around the show floor and started to get a little brave to start walking up to people, asking for some interviews, some talking, some networking, actually sitting down and plugging into amps and stuff and playing through what everybody's got to show off. I was starting to feel a lot more comfortable by the end of the day. So some highlights of the day were, gotta say, so awesome to have the opportunity to talk to Robert Keeley for a couple of minutes. The dude is an absolute sweetheart. Really appreciated that. I've actually been looking for a chance to interview him for quite a while because I've known that we went to the same high school for a hot second, and been wanting to drop that connection, wanting to connect with him, and it was good to finally get to see him in person, get to talk about it a little bit, and that was a highlight. Other highlight of the day has got to be getting my Jennings guitar, and oh boy, that was something special. It was super crazy. So I went to go meet with Chad in the morning to go pick it up, and parked. He came out to meet me, and then went inside to this Airbnb that they were staying at, and I walked in, and it's Chad Jennings, Curtis Lambertson, Brian and Bradford from Worship Tutorials. I'm like, oh, so this is the Cool Kids Club then. This is awesome. It was great to meet everybody. It was great to catch up and see Curtis again. Absolute wild ride. Seeing the guitar, I think Curtis got a video of it. I need to track that down sometime today. But he got a video of my very childish, giddy squeaking as Chad opened up the case and handed the guitar to me. I about died. I didn't have a whole lot of words as one of those speechless moments, but I'm so psyched about this guitar. The plan for today, got a couple of meetings, got a handful of people to talk to. Yesterday, I spent a lot of time in the boutique section, but I didn't make it to a couple of the bigger booths that I need to make it out to. I do need to make it to the Fender booth, the Boss Roland booth, and I do need to make it to the Martin and Taylor booths. So it's going to be some of the larger booths for today. Looking forward to it. I especially need to go to the Gibson booth. So I ended up at the Gibson Live at the Grove event last night. Shout out to Cam from Gibbs Sunday for getting me in the door. It was super awesome. So many great performances, and a couple of guitars on stage I think might be prototypes for signature models. I could be totally wrong, but I could have sworn the guitar Emily Wolf was playing looked not like something I've seen in Gibson's standard line, or something that I remember Gibson releasing from a while ago. So either it's an all-ball release, or I don't know, they might be doing a signature for Emily Wolf. I'm pretty excited. But got to catch up with a couple of folks, got to catch up with an old friend of mine I knew from the Guitar Center days. A lot of good chatting, connecting, some great performances. It was a good time. I need to go to the Gibson booth to follow up and to have some chit-chats, maybe a couple of interviews. It's going to be a good time. And then the other big thing for today is a friend of mine did get the Jennings guitar in as a vendor, so I'm going to be walking around the show floor with that and going to be attempting to demo. We'll see how my rig holds up to taking direct input from any of the booths that have amp sims at them. Nice thing is, any of the booths with an amp sim means I can just hijack the headphone out and plug directly into my little recording rig here. So we'll see what I can come up with demo-wise. If it ends up sounding terrible, I do apologize in advance. Just know that I will be talking more about the equipment later, and I'm sure we'll be getting some demos on the YouTube channel for you. So that's about all I've got for the day one debrief on my way into day two. Super excited. The caffeine's starting to hit me, and let's do this. Let's get this bread. I'm pretty excited. Let's do it. Alrighty. So I'm here with Ben from Band Labs. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing really good. It's day two. Still holding on. Yeah.
I'm hanging there too. I think I need like a Red Bull or something to just keep me, like, boost me up quite a bit.
I'll get you one later. No worries.
All right, Red Bull it is. So speaking of boost, that puts us in the realm of dirt effects. Oh, yeah. And rumor has it you've got a couple of dirt effects that just dropped. Tell me a little bit about what we're looking at here.
Well, so I represent the brand Tysco, Last year we put out a delay, a fuzz, a boost, and this year we're sort of just jumping into that world of gain a little bit more. We have the Teisco Overdrive, which is a classic, transparent, low to medium gain overdrive. It's got a little toggle switch called kick on it, and that brings you from low to medium gain.
Okay, cool.
So it's just a nice little preset thing to have there if you need that extra bit of juice.
Yeah.
You know, it does the warm punchy thing really well, warm and punchy things really well. Great for pushing your amp, great for stacking with other overdrives. And then we have the Teisco Distortion. So that is your classic British style kind of distortion, you know, really like crunchy, classic rock tones, JCM type thing.
All right, now we're talking.
Yeah, and it's actually a dual channel situation. So we have a independent gain boost channel.
Yep.
And it's just called more, when you need more.
Right.
And then you have, on the left side, you have the actual distortion channel with a bunch of toggle switches and just a lot of fun and EQ on that side. And you can stack them together. The boost is pre-distortion.
Right.
And yes, a lot of permutations on how you can use that one.
I love options, a huge fan of options.
We all are, yeah.
Speaking of just opening up the world of options and possibilities of what you can do, you guys just dropped an interface in a guitar pedal, which is a super rad idea, and that opens up the entire possibilities to connecting to DAWs and VSTs and all the plugins you can imagine. Tell me more about what that's looked like for you guys. I want to hear about price point. I want to hear how people have been responding to it. We're towards the end of day 2 of NAMM. Tell me everything you know about it.
All right. So it looks just like a regular pedal. It has 2 inputs, 2 outputs, and then it's got a funny USB-C on the side. And people are like, what is this? At its core, this is a recording interface. So it does need to be connected to a laptop or any other DAW device, like a tablet or a phone. So that still needs to happen for it to work. So recording on the fly, silent practicing, that's all easy. But on top of that now, you can bring your studio-grade plugins to your live rig. That's all possible now. Like everything from like the latest Neural DSP plugins.
Right.
You can now bring like Nolly from Periphery and his gent tone to your gig with one pedal and your laptop. It's all you need. It's also an effects routing monster for another different reason. It has 2 dual mono inputs, but dual TRS outputs. So that allows you to do a whole ton of things. You could be running one channel into a stereo amp setup and the other channel into your headphones, direct to front of house, to a pair of studio monitors. You can do all of that. Or you could be sending dual stereo together to 4 amps. You could run channel A through the front of your amp and then channel B through the send return of your amp and have different plugins run on both of those channels. So you could have your drives on channel A, you could have your wet effects on channel B. And that's literally just one pedal and your laptop and your amp, and that's your performing rig.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of like wet, dry, wet rigs and any amp combination rigs. You got one amp in the left and one amp in the right. All those permutations, I just love that wall of sound you can get, especially with like different delays and reverbs. You just get absolutely massive with it.
Yeah.
So, dude, that's really awesome. What's the price point on that going to be?
Price point on the interface is only $129.
Okay, $129 is really, really good.
It is. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, we're not going to claim that this is some Apollo Twin interface. It's not. You know, it's a basic interface, but it's catered specifically to guitarists. Right. And that's why we want it to be accessible to everyone. You know, whether you're a beginner starting out at home, writing your first song and looking to track guitars, you know, or whether you're on the road and you're suddenly hit with inspiration and you need something on the fly to get the next idea down. You know, that's all possible now. And
well, and that's totally accessible. I could see this being really great for churches and praise and worship folks, because a lot of churches are running silent stages, and this is the kind of thing where you could get full control over, even you could just send that signal to front of house and run your DAW at front of house and just let your front of house engineer run all of that.
Yep. There's just, we haven't even discovered all the possibilities with the interface. So we were actually rushing out the full manual before we launched the product at NAMM, and then we came up with like 13 different scenarios on how to use it, and they were like, crap, we can't design the whole manual in time.
Right.
Let's just cut it down to 6 first, and then we'll just update it later.
Right.
So yeah, it's been really overwhelming that to have this technology and put it into a pedal format, and just figuring out along the way what this thing can do for everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a Princess Bride quote from Inigo Montoya, where he says, let me
No, there's too much. Let me sum up.
Yeah, pretty much. Overdrive, also 129, very accessible price point. The 2-channel distortion, 149.
2 channels for 149. That sounds like a deal to me. All right, so I got a question for you here,
Right.
and I want you to hear me out before I finish hear me out. Let me finish the question. So 2020. I don't know if you know this, but I'm a huge fan of the color of orange, specifically orange. And I've got this crazy wild theory that 2020 is the year of the color orange. What are your thoughts on that? Am I crazy, or you want to see more of that?
I think crazy is not a bad thing. I think you're almost there. I mean, our new Overdrive is yellow, but the undertone under that yellow is orange. So that's what we've got on the pattern. And yeah, I mean, crazy is not a bad thing. You're almost there. I mean, Tysco is almost in line entirely with your vision.
Yeah, and a huge fan of that. So, you know, I always love being called crazy. It makes me smile because it's totally true. I own it fully 100%. So we're January of 2020 right now. Big year ahead of us, and I'm probably going to see you next year at Winter NAMM.
Yes, you will.
So we got a year. What do you want to see change in the gear industry between now and then? I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you go with this question. I'm going to leave it pretty open-ended. Take it away.
I mean, I've got a bunch of things just going through my head right now. But I think collaborations on the rise is really exciting to me. I mean, a few years back, we had the JHS and Boss Angry Driver, right? That thing happened. And then this year, we have Chase Bliss and Maris with the Automatone. And it's like, oh my God. And then there's the blooper as well. And that's right. A collaboration between a demo artist and a builder. It's not even 2 builders. So it's wild, like all these collaborations that are happening. There's even a compressor on one of the pedal boards in our booth by a brand called Collaboration Devices. And it's an amazing, amazing compressor. There are tons of engineers and musicians that were involved in creating this. It's a VCA-inspired compressor. It's killer. It's killer. It's got the meter and everything. So like, it's definitely on the rise. You can sense it across the industry. So I'd love to see more of that. In terms of like user interface on products, I think sliders are making a comeback.
Yep.
Actually, I don't even know if they were a thing before, but sliders are happening. So one of my favorite bass builders right now, her name is Lisa Ellis Hahn, and she works out of the Sadowski workshop actually.
All right.
And her preamp, her 3-band preamp EQ, sliders. And then you have Old Blood Noise Endeavors with their new expression pedals.
The expression slider. That's only like $40 too. It's like nothing.
Yeah, it's crazy. And only a few years back, you know, I mean, you do have like 10-band EQs and all that. They have sliders too. But then J-Rocket came up with their IQ compressor, and that had the compressor, the blend, and sliders as well. But I think sliders are coming back in a like funky retro sort of way. I want to see more of that actually. I really want to. Yeah.
No, I'm a huge fan of funky and retro. I actually just got my Jennings guitar that's sitting right here. It's a super funky retro vibe to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think Faders is going to be really great. I wasn't expecting it to see as much of it around, and I'm not mad that I'm seeing so much of it.
Right. Yeah.
And it just, if nothing else, opens the door wide open for us to say "get faded" unironically.
I got nothing. Whoa. But yeah.
All right. Well, cool. Let's get faded in 2020 and
Faded.
Cheers. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
It's me here with Rick Matthews. You want to tell me a little bit about the Futurist?
Yes, the Futurist is a BPM generator and MIDI controller that we're really excited about. It can do a lot of cool things, and apparently it's much smaller than a lot of people think. A lot of people thought it was bigger, you know, maybe a little bit bigger than this, but it's compact. It can fit on any board. Look at all those features, and boy, does it shine. Yeah. Woo!
See, I also thought it was going to be a lot bigger than that. I feel like it's like Terraform 2.0 because everybody thought that Terraform was going to be massive. And then we all saw it and we're like, oh.
That's so cute.
It's so cute.
So tiny. That's exactly this. And really the idea was to create stuff that was compact. It wasn't going to take up a bunch of space on your board, but you get a ton of features. We do it a little bit differently. You know, we got some cool artwork going on with this thing. The finish, I mean, gosh, it looks like $1 million. You got 3 different MIDI outputs. You got 3.5 millimeter, you got 5-pin, you got USB over here. The USB can do MIDI, it can power the Futurist, and then you'll also use that to update the firmware and to edit all of the presets and everything on this thing, so you can do it from the comfort of your computer.
I didn't realize you could power it over USB. And what USB jack do you decide on?
It is this one, which I said wrong earlier. I believe it's just a mini USB. It's not a Type-C. I'm spacing. It's a mini USB. We're going to include one with the pedal. So when you get it, it comes with a USB cable, so you don't even have to worry about that.
There you go. No more digging through your own cell phone chargers trying to figure out some way to hack something up to make it work. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so help me out here. The whole idea of this is you wanted to re-engineer what MIDI looked like for folks and make it really accessible to folks like me who don't have a lot of experience. So how did you do that? So, for me as a guy who doesn't have a lot of experience with MIDI, how does this help me?
Yeah, so I really saw an opportunity in the market with stuff being really convoluted and complex, and it just felt like there's a huge wall between users and the functionality that they wanted. So I saw a really cool opportunity to make that a lot simpler. So on the device itself, everything is very linear. It's very simple. You can sit down and not know how to do anything and still figure out how to program this thing. You're not going to get lost in menus and all that stuff. It's very easy to use in person. But then also, what I'm really excited about is for the computer editor, we're doing what's called our Smart Editor Wizard. And what that lets us do is all you have to do is know the MIDI channel that your device is on, and go channel, brand, model, the action you want to take. So let's say we want to do a preset.
Yep.
It gives you a box to put in a variable. So let's say preset 4, and then generate, and it's going to generate the MIDI message for that specific device onto your pedal.
That sounds pretty straightforward. I'm always really intimidated to see screens on pedals, and I think this is one I'm going to have to give a shot.
Yeah, we kept it, there's not too many options. It's very simple. And what's also really cool is that it's going to be a living product. So if the community wants certain features or wants us to change stuff, we just send out a firmware update and you're able to update your product to something new.
That's pretty awesome. And so is it a web-based GUI or is it a downloadable?
Right now it's a downloadable one. I want to do a web-based one with obviously less features. So you could do it from your cell phone or something like that. But we're launching it with Mac and PC.
Mac and PC. What about Linux?
Linux, you guys don't need our official support. I'm sure you'll just figure out how to make it work without it.
If you know what Linux is, chances are you can just get the thing anyway. So, well, that's super awesome. Unrelated question entirely. In-and-out order.
In-and-out order. Oh, you guys are gonna judge me. I mean, I do a plain burger with cheese and fries.
Like when you say plain, like no lettuce and tomato, or?
I don't like lettuce, I don't like tomato, and I don't like any weird sauces. I'm a super picky eater.
Fair enough. But the beauty of In-N-Out is it still at that level, it still works really well.
Oh, it's so delicious. It's so good, especially the French fries. We do In-N-Out, and then there's always like a Chick-fil-A within a block. So we do In-N-Out, and we get Chick-fil-A, and we eat them at the same time.
5 calories in one dump, that's the way to do it. All right, well.
I have a question for you. Okay, which would you rather do? Would you rather float 10 feet off the ground and be terrified of heights? Or would you have to crawl on the floor, but you could play like Matteo Sasato?
Crawl on the floor. I'm already short, so crawling the floor is it's really only a few inches farther down. Works out pretty well. My question for you, here we go. It's dueling questions.
Yeah.
I have this weird theory that 2020 is the year of the color orange. What are your thoughts? Go.
I think orange is a very strong front runner. We've seen a lot of good candidates this year. And, ultimately it's going to come down to who has the most endurance, who has the most desire to win, most fight. And we're going to see who does the best and who comes out. But, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if orange came out the winner.
I think orange has got to be a winner. Your turn for a question. Go.
What is your favorite cartoon animal?
Harry the Platypus. Easy answer. Either that, you know what? Let me go a little old school here. I take that back entirely. I'm gonna go with Rufus the Naked Mole Rat.
Okay.
From Kim Possible.
Okay.
A little old school, but that's my childhood.
You're a Kim Possible kid. That's cool.
Call me, beat me if you want to reach me. That's the way to do it. I say that around the office. I actually say that around the office in my day job, and people just look at me like I'm smoking something.
It's been a long day, but that just made it worth it. So.
All right, we're gonna change the tune up just a little bit here. I got a question for you, and we're gonna leave it super open-ended. Take it wherever you want. 2020. This is January. We got a long year ahead of us. I'm gonna see you next year at Winter NAMM. Between now and the next time I see you here on this floor, what do you want to see change in the gear industry for the better specifically?
I mean, for me personally, I'm really excited about the concept of MIDI going to the 3.5 millimeter jack, which is why we are supporting it on this. You're starting to see companies like Boss, Wampler, Empress, all move to this, and to me, it's a no-brainer. I think it's such an improvement on something that's been kind of dead and boring for a long time. And so that I'm really excited about because I think it'll be a big improvement for people's pedal boards.
Oh yeah, because those 5-pin jacks are just so huge. I mean, you've got one on there just for. Put that up on the camera and for reference, a 5-pin jack versus a 3.5 millimeter jack. Just think about how tidy your cabling's about to get.
Yeah. Because all these single footprint pedals and everything like that, you could fit an in and out jack with way more room than you could a 5-pin jack.
But can you fit an in and out double-double?
Oh, you can fit an in and out double-double.
There's always room for a double-double. There's always room for a 3x3 right about here.
With animal.
My standard order used to be a 4x4, but then I realized I'd like to live to the age of 50.
So now you're gonna live to the age of 60 with a 3x3.
57. It's like 27 plus 30, so that's sort of like the 27 club. It's hip enough, but still like, okay, like I had kids. This is great. All right, well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it. And to everybody live at Matthews Effects Innovators, we love you guys. Take it easy. All righty, so coming to you from NAMM, I'm here with Yvette Young. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Pretty spent after an entire day, but still got a little bit of gas.
Yeah, it's my day too, and I'm gassing out. I need to go get some caffeine in me. But today is a super special day for you because what are we staring at right here?
We're staring at my new signature slime green sparkle Talman.
And this is super awesome. And am I seeing like orange speckles in there?
Yeah, there's a bit of orange, there's like yellow, there's green. I basically wanted it to kind of have depth, so I wanted to have different bits of sparkle in there. But yeah, I wanted something kind of flamboyant since I believe the Talmans have been discontinued for a bit and now they're like relaunching it, so I kind of wanted something very eye-catching for that.
Oh yeah, eye-catching, super awesome. And you also have an orange sparkle that, I just love the color orange as a general rule. So I've been a huge fan of that.
Well, maybe,
So, all right, so open-ended question for you. We're at January 2020. We've got one more year until Winter NAMM next year. What do you want to see change in the gear industry between now and then? I'm going to leave it very open-ended. Take that wherever you want to go with it.
Change in the gear industry. I guess I feel like the gear industry is just very oversaturated and it's kind of hard to stand out. I don't know what it's like to be someone who works for a company trying to stand out and have a product that's unique. I just think from a consumer standpoint, a lot of people feel pretty overwhelmed by all the choices out there, and I think, I don't know, sometimes people, there's not enough information out there over what's good and what's bad, and I think a lot of people think that expensive means better. And from my experience as a musician playing different pieces of gear, I find that price has nothing to do with it. So I guess maybe this is a very long-winded way to say this, but maybe I hope people depend less on hype and popularity and go out and try things for themselves and make informed decisions for themselves that suit what they want sonically.
No, that's something I can totally get on board with. I think something that I realized, we talked a little bit about this before we hit record, but yesterday I walked in, I started to feel this real sense of there is so much going on here and a little overwhelmed. And I'm someone who considers myself a little bit of a gear buff. I spent a lot of time going down this rabbit hole and learning as much as I can about it and realizing how much depth there is, and realizing also that a lot of it's just it's smoke and mirrors, and some of the best folks that are making stuff right now are not the ones you would think.
Yeah.
But it's really exciting to get to try it all here in person and to see what that looks like.
I wish it was a more appropriate environment to try gear. I had to try out an acoustic guitar today, and they're like, "What do you think about the resonance?" And I was just like, I can't hear over this guy blast beating right now. Like, I don't know.
Right. You just have to fight the urge to say Tonewood is a lie, which it's not, but it's just one of those, what do you even say at that point?
Yeah. But NAMM is certainly the place to check out all the cool boutique pedal companies. I think that's where I get excited, and also I really like synths and keyboards, things like that. So.
And you play a really killer piano. I've listened to your piano EP a couple of times. It sounds really great.
Thank you.
So, on the subject of pedals and whatnot, something that I've seen a lot this year that's really surprised me is how many direct listen options and headphones there are, as opposed to amps, which has been really nice. But you also, do you have any thoughts on direct options?
On what options?
Like direct amp in a box kind of options, cab sims, anything under that branch.
Amp in a box. I don't really use much of that. I mean, on the road I use the Yamaha THR. I don't think that's it's kind of like a practice amp, right? Yeah, I like that one. The built-in chorus sound is really nice. I actually was super inspired by that set, and I wanted to actually use the built-in chorus to record, but it didn't work out.
I've got 2 more questions for you. So, do you want the softball, goofy question, or do you want a more introspective question? All right. Goofy question. So this is super green, and there's a reason why I called out the color orange in it, is I've got this really strange, wacky theory. I personally really love the color orange, and I have this theory that orange is going to be the color of 2020 in the guitar world. I don't know if I've seen enough to convince myself of that yet, but I'm trying to convince other people. What are your thoughts on the color orange in 2020?
I love orange, and I have plans, maybe.
Okay. That sounds really intriguing, and I'm very excited. And then the last question I've got for you is, our podcast focuses a lot on diversity and inclusion. A lot of our listeners are young women who are just getting started within the last couple of years. What advice do you have at this point in time for them joining the industry?
I think one thing I struggled with initially is, when you're... I don't think women are certainly the majority in this industry. I think it's certainly male-dominant, although I think it's becoming very inclusive. I'm really optimistic about where it's headed, actually. I think when I started out, I kind of had this sense of like I knew what I wanted, but I was almost like scared to speak up about it just because I'm not particularly assertive. And I think this industry has its way of pulling you like a million different ways. I think when you join, just make sure to really concentrate on like who you are, what you want to stand for, what your vision is, and don't let people detract you from that.
That's something I can definitely get behind. I'm also very hopeful for the amount of inclusion. I'm saying I think we've got a long way to go, but the amount that it's changed even the last few years that I've had my hands in this industry has been really encouraging to see. And thanks to people like you who are standing up and being leaders in the industry. So
My pleasure.
Thank you so much for being on the show. We'll have to have you on again sometime, and it was a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you.
Good morning, Anaheim. All right, so day 3 is upon us, and I'm just kind of soaking in day 2. I woke up this morning thinking to myself, oh, wow, that was real. Like, that happened. Like, yesterday was super rad. I think my big takeaway from yesterday has got to be, and I hate to say this, but almost less about the gear and more about the people in the industry. I was just very encouraged by how much, how awesome people were to get to meet in person. A lot of people I've been talking to on the internet for a couple of years, really kind of hammering that out and getting to finally talk in person. And you know what, guys? The folks in this industry are some of the coolest folks you'll ever meet. Really, seriously, like a huge chunk of this industry, good people, and it was really exciting to be a part of that. I do definitely have some gear highlights from yesterday. I gotta say, one of the things that really kind of grabbed my attention was the Epiphone rebrand. Throwback to the Kalamazoo headstock. I think that looks super slick. I do like it a lot better than the old headstock that they've been using for a while. So that was a good move. But specifically on the Epiphone Muse series, it's kind of like a kid-friendly / more friendly Epiphone for people with smaller bodies. It's got a really skinny nut width that feels like a little bit too small for me, but I mean, I would have killed to have that as a kid. The body's a little bit thinner than your average SG or Les Paul. It just nailed it. Other highlights, the Harmony booth, Tysco booth was just off the rails, super rad. Go check out their stuff. I got a great interview with Ben from them. Another great highlight for the day was interviewing Yvette Young. I'll talk about this a little bit more with Emily, so I want to tell her the story, but it was a crazy turn of events. I didn't think I was going to be able to get to interview Yvette. Gave up on it, and then a crazy turn of events following one after the other. But I'll tell you guys more about that later this episode. Let's see here. What I'm looking forward to today is, for starters, my good buddy, college roommate, and former bandmate Caleb is in the car with me. How you doing, buddy?
Great. How are you, man?
I am caffeinated. That's the important thing right now. Traffic is looking a lot better than it did last couple of days, so hopefully we can even get inside the doors a little early. Try and make the most out of this last day.
I'm really excited to join you.
So let's see here. Highlights of what I'm looking for. Oh, I forgot to mention yesterday, the other super cool thing I saw that blew my mind is Fender is doing noiseless Jazzmaster pickups, and for the new American Ultra line. And I got a chance to pick them up and take a look, and they sound great. They look great. Everything about that build is just the epitome of what I love about offsets. So they absolutely nailed it. It's refreshing. It's not a historical Jazzmaster. It's definitely a new take, but it's a take I can get behind. I'm definitely a fan. Today, let's see here. Man, there's still, the crazy thing is there's so many vendors on the floor, I still haven't gotten through everything. Today, I definitely want to hit Old Blood Noise Endeavors. I need to find the Maris folks, go say hi to them, and go check out some of their stuff. I've got a running list of people I still need to grab today, but after I grab the last couple of interviews and saying hello to folks, the plan is to just enjoy the rest of the day. I've been spending more time talking to people than I have playing guitars the last couple of days, which has been incredible. I think I'm just going to take advantage of this day, plug in, make some noise, and for fuzz's sake, I mean, I just got to do it. So, well, that's what I've got going in. We'll see how today turns out. Until later today, I guess. All right, coming to you from NAMM with the Chase Bliss folks. How you guys doing?
Good, man. How are you? Good, man.
So you guys have these two new products out I'm staring at right now. They're absolutely gorgeous. Tell me a little bit about them.
Yeah, so these are the first two pedals that we're releasing in our new format, the Automaton line. And this was the first one. We announced this one actually last year at NAMM. We've just been working really hard on refining the hardware and getting the circuit just right. This one is a collaboration with Benson amps. I'll show you the back here. It's based on, coming in hot. It's based on the preamp pedal that he released last year, which is, I believe, the front end circuit of his Chimera, with FETs instead of tubes. And we just added a bunch of features to it. So parametric mid-range from our Condor EQ, selectable Q range. We added a couple other diode options to the preamp circuit, so you can get a few different kind of characteristics out of it that way. There's a really awesome fuzz circuit that can be open or gated, kind of like Fuzz Face, Woolly Mammoth sort of thing. And then both of these pedals, the Automaton format, is fully automated controls, so they can save presets on board. And when you recall a preset, these are actually motorized faders. They'll jump to your preset positions, and all of these buttons have an LED ring around the outside to kind of indicate what state they're in as well. So that applies to both of these guys. That one should be out sometime like mid to late May. Almost ready to go. We're just like refining the last little details. And then this guy is the second one in the format. This is a collaboration with Maris Effects, and also our first stereo pedal that we're coming out with. This guy just...
What's What's the price point going to be on this guy? Because I really want it.
We don't have a price point or release date quite yet. These are like the very first prototypes that we're showing off at the show, so there's still a little ways to go as far as like R&D and finalizing the hardware, that sort of thing. We're hoping to be able to release it like late summer is kind of the expected date, but nothing concrete quite yet. Gotcha. Yeah, we did just announce the price for this guy. It's going to be $749. This one's a stereo platform, so it'll probably be just a little bit more than that guy, but we're going to try to keep it in that same general ballpark. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, question for you. So I've got this crazy theory that 2020 is going to be the year of the color orange. What are your thoughts on that? And are we going to see any orange pedals from you guys? Maybe another addition to the Automaton line?
I love that theory. Big fan of orange. There's no immediate plans, but you never know. We did the Orange War Vinyl Hi-Fi a little while back. That one was kind of a short-lived run, but yeah, I'd be all for it.
All right, and then I got another question for you. Last question. It's January 2020. We got a long year ahead of us. I'm going to be seeing you guys next year, Winter NAMM. Between now and then, what do you want to see change in the gear industry?
Oh, man. That's a really good question. Randy, you got anything immediately?
I mean, the thought that comes to my mind that gets me really excited about things like these and like the mood and the dark world is just the idea of collaborating. I really wish more companies would do that, because it's not necessarily a zero-sum game of like we're all in this to compete with each other, but we're all actually in this to support. And I think everybody benefits in that kind of an environment, including the users and the buyers, because you get a really unique product that maybe wouldn't have turned out the way that it did if it wasn't two separate people coming together and trying to figure it out. So, like, even just like silly things like we don't have a function for this yet, but there's a lot of conversation about what this could be, and there's different people giving feedback into that, which we could end up with something really neat with that jack. So things like that I think are really cool. So that's kind of what I would hope to see more of in the industry, because it's a really great thing.
Absolutely. There's totally room for all of us to be here, and it's really great that you guys are committed to making sure that you're bringing everybody in with what you're doing. We really appreciate that. Thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it. Have a great day.
You too, man. Thanks.
All right. Check. 1 2 1 2. We're seeing it. All right. So I'll edit this into the video, but we're about to go see Earthquaker Devices, and I've been talking to a few of the folks over there and trying to get to the bottom of this crazy story of how I ended up with doodles inside of my Avalanche Run V1 and my data corruptor of just massive dick monsters. So let's go find out. Sam is the one who does all the doodles, and supposedly that's our culprit. So let's go find out. All right, so if you don't mind, I'm going to record. We've got you on camera.
Okay.
I'm Andrew. I'm with the Get Offset podcast.
Hey, what's
and
up?
I've been looking for you for quite a while. This is going to sound really strange. Maybe 3 years ago, I ordered a couple of guitar pedals through my Guitar Center employee discount.
Right.
And I made a request for a personalized doodle. Is there any way you guys could do that? And I ended up with something that was hilarious, and I've been trying to figure out why for the few years now. Okay. Any of this ring any bells?
I have done a lot of doodles, but I kind of remember, it probably depends on what day it was. You said it was like 3 years ago?
It was like 3 years ago. Do you have any idea, before you look at the photo, what you think it might be?
Either a cat or something kind of vulgar, maybe.
Very vulgar.
Does it have bad words?
Sort of. So here's what we've got.
Oh, those are the flappy titties. Yeah, no, those are my flappy titties.
Oh, that's what they are.
So this is the flappy titty penis monster.
Uh-huh.
So those are dicks. Those are tits. Free the nipples. Yeah, fart. Oh yeah, I fart you. Uh-huh. Yeah, you suck. And yeah, I remember you, Andrew. Yeah, you suck. Yeah, the titty. Uh-huh. I was really into drawing like weird dick titty monsters for a while. I've kind of switched to cats because we have like, children and stuff that are getting stuff. But when we have a special request, I do really awesome titty. Usually for the guys around the shop, I do that too. Yeah. There's a lot of like dicks and titties. Yep.
It's been a subject of conversation for quite some time, but I'm never selling those ever. They're just amazing.
You can't because they have your name on them. Yeah. Well, it's really nice to meet you, man.
It was really nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Thank
the doodle.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
anytime. Send them in. Usually I prefer to get like a Taco Bell gift card or like some pizza gift card in the mail too. Don't send a taco because that'll be like really soggy and gross by the time. But if you
What if it's wrapped in foil?
It depends on where you live, because I'm in Ohio, so if it's like coming from like Cleveland, yes. If it's coming any further from Cleveland, no.
So probably not a Seattle.
No, that would take too long. Maybe like a baklava or some kind of sweet thing would be good still.
All right. Well, I've got a lot of Earthquaker pedals. I'm sure I'll find something.
Yeah, bring them in and don't sell them, but bring them to me and I'll do more doodles for you, man. I can keep going vulgar. Like, don't worry. I'll do it so crazy, man.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you around.
Thanks, Andrew.
Nice.
And that is why my voice is gone. Because I kid you not, like I had to really cut down. Like I there's definitely interviews that didn't make it in there, which I kind of feel bad about. There's just so much, and more than just what I got on record. There is so much that happened off the microphone. It's absolutely insane. I just spent a lot of time talking, and I had the absolute ball of my life.
I had the ball of my life.
And I owe it all to NAMM.
And I owe it all to NAMM.
Yeah.
If anyone hasn't picked up, we're back with just Emily and Andrew, because I don't think we had like a transition.
No, so that was the interviews we've got, and this is sort of like a day 3 / whole entire trip decompression, sort of a chit chat real quick, just to tack on to the end of the episode. I got a couple of additional stories as well as my highlights as far as the gear itself, what got me pretty hyped.
Yeah, I mean, you were there. I mean, there were things that I was pretty stoked on just to see, like secondhand, like Tysco's stereo pedal that I know you talked about.
Yeah.
And everything that Old Blood Noise released looked really, really cool. And Fender's guitars and Epiphone. And it just seemed like a good NAMM. The Game Changer pedal that has the spring reverb and the late,
It's the optical spring reverb.
Right. The optical spring reverb. That's crazy. And then of course Chase Bliss with their Automatone, which I think is just a really funny name.
I think it's great.
Yeah, with Maris and Benson.
Oh really yeah, I mean collaborations of the wazoo. I think walking around asking people, what do you see more of in 20? The question I asked everybody is, what do you want to see more of in 2020? And I think of the interviews I included on this episode, most of them all said more collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
And I for all the people I have on camera saying that, I probably 100 people tell me the exact. And no one is like going around telling each other, "Oh yeah, go." Andrew's gonna ask you this question. This is what you should tell him. See if we can get him to buy it. Like it was like consensus. That's just the feeling that we've got in the industry right now. Collaboration is the name of the game.
Especially with like a major brands like players like Chase Bliss. Like
I
feel like most of their recent pedals have been, I think, collaborations. Like we look at, I think their last pedal without Mood was a collaboration.
Yep.
Blooper collaboration, both the Automatones collaborations, and then the Cooper FX thing, obviously a collaboration. And that was basically their 2019 lineup.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we see, and we've been seeing this for like 2019. I think starting early off in our podcast when we interviewed Matthew Hoops for one of our earlier episodes, it was talking about like, yo, dude, like this is capitalism. And yet you're working with like what could be argued as your competitor as another pedal builder with Bondi FX, and like it's so cool to see that. And I think that's something that really starting to hit me, and especially after this NAMM, that there is so much room for everybody in this industry to work together to get along, and that 2, 3, or 4 heads is better than one. The amount of creativity that you can jam pack into this is pretty fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of creative people in the industry, and I think that in basically every facet of life and creativity, there are exceptions. There are times where you just have to hunker down and do your Walden, but so often just having different heads in a room, especially people from different backgrounds and experiences, just it breeds better things, and that's just really really cool.
Oh yeah, totally. So, and I think this leads me into probably what was my number one takeaway from NAMM. And I talked about this in my day 2 debrief bit that you heard earlier. Is that the highlight, as cool as the gear is for me, has got to be the people of NAMM. And just so many. I got to meet so many incredible people. I don't even know where to begin listing off the names of fans and friends and supporters and people that I look up to in so many different ways of this industry, and getting to talk to them and having them impart any wisdom and advice and encouragement and kind words. It just the people. There's so many good people in this industry. That's my main takeaway.
That was the one thing I was sad to miss out on, was the people.
I mean, honestly, I think the people is what I was so physically exhausted by the end of day 2, and yet I was so hyped to get back on the floor for day 3.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, definitely people. There's some really, really, really great people in this industry, guys. So,
I hope you told them all that I said hi.
I told lots of people I said hi, and I've lost track of the number of people that I was supposed to tell you said hi.
If you told Andrew to tell me hi, just send me a message.
I've absolutely lost track, and I'm still trying to get through my list of people I'm following up with about conversations and people that said that they wanted to be on the show, and demos and all kinds of awesome stuff that was talked about off camera that I'm still trying to catch up with. But before I just absolutely lose myself in getting all gushy, and then you'll hear me sobbing and with a hoarse voice.
Oh yeah, you were supposed to talk about the things that you liked.
Well, so I can tell you about which one do you want to hear first? Do you want to hear a couple of cool stories, or do you want to hear my top 3 gear highlights from NAMM?
Let's go with gear highlights and then stories.
All right, gear highlights. Number 1 gear highlight for me is probably going to come as a surprise because it's not one of the things that a lot of people were talking about. But when I was walking through the booth and the rep was showing me, rep is a strong term. My friend who works at the company was showing me this particular product lineup. I looked at this and I said, "Oh my goodness, the potential that this has, the implications that this has specifically for younger players and players with smaller bodies is huge." And it was just a very, very well thought out product lineup between the appointments on the particular guitar and the price point and the colors. I thought it was just, I believe Epiphone has outdone themselves with the Muse series.
I've
And
heard
I
people talk about Epiphone, but I don't know if I've heard them talk about the Muse series in particular.
specifically the Muse series. I know that the throwback to the Kalamazoo headstock has got everybody shook, which I think is awesome. I think, and is just another signpost that's signaling that Gibson's living up to the legacy that it has, and which is a really refreshing change after the last decade or so.
Are they lightweight? Because the scale is just a normal, 24 3/4 scale.
Oh yeah. So the Muse series. So here's there's 2 major things about it that make it feel like it's for like a smaller human. Is it's a really skinny nut width.
Okay.
And then the body itself is like a lot skinnier, so it's not a big fat Les Paul body. And it's got that slim taper neck on it that just, it almost feels like a shredder guitar in that sense. But I mean, it feels so comfortable. My friend Kelly handed it to me and said, "What do you think?" And I immediately was thrown for a loop because I just sold the Epiphone that I've had for over a decade with this, and it was an Epiphone SG and a big D-shaped neck on it, and it was super top heavy and great guitar. I love the absolute junk out of that thing, and it sounds like the guy that I sold it to is absolutely loving it as well. But when I picked up the Muse series, I immediately thought to myself and said out loud, "This is the guitar that I wish I had had when I was in middle school, high school."
Nice.
In a growing body with smaller hands with that were constantly trying to stretch to meet my it just felt so much more
Nice. That's
comfortable.
cool.
And I know this seems like a really dumb thing to get super excited about, but if we're really honest though, 3/4 size guitars are frequently not great quality, and they kind of feel too small. And I've been waiting to see more of an in between. The tailored for acoustic guitars, it's been the tailored GS
Right.
Mini for a while now. Has been that perfect 7/8, where like a full grown adult could still feel comfortable playing with it. And it put me very much in mind of that, in terms of the way it felt. I didn't even notice that it still felt small, even though it was a full length. And then other than that, the colors that they have in that lineup are super groovy, super vibrant, would make me very excited to play guitar. And the price point, I think, was like 500 or 600. I'd have to.
The SG I'm looking at the site says $429, which is almost unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, they felt and played incredible. Of course, if we're being honest, I'm sure that they like had their techs go through every single guitar that hit the floor of their booth to make sure that they were at top performance. But honestly, if that's what they're getting from the factory overseas and their tech can do it up real quick, I mean, that means at worst out of the box is a little bit not quite as good feeling. And then after a quick setup, you're which is what I recommend anytime you buy a new guitar.
Right.
I mean, these just gave me a lot of hope for young players who are going to be joining us in the next few years. And if I was a salesperson at Guitar Center still, every family that walks in, I feel like I would at least have to pitch that as an option.
Nice. So what's your number 2?
Number 2 is the Yvette Young signature guitar.
Nice. I heard that was heavy,
It's
but it's really
super
nice to see
heavy.
her having it.
It's
8 or 9 pounds.
Yeah, it felt like 8 or 9 pounds, and it's got a super fat baseball neck on it. But I loved how it felt. I loved how it played. I tend to like fatter necks myself. They fit real comfortable. That green in person though, that sparkle. There's so many other colors that are in it, and it's a super vibrant, lovable, just absolute splash of delight as far as the finish goes.
Nice.
And
Cool.
it's super exciting. I think that makes Yvette the second signature artist, women's signature artist that Ibanez has behind Nita Strauss.
Oh gosh. I mean, yeah, that's really cool that they have a second one. But maybe they should have more at this point, but baby steps. Ibanez has been a brand for how long?
It's been a brand for a while, but let's be honest, this is progress and this is exciting and could not have gone to a more radical guitar player.
Yeah, they've been around since 1957.
Well, I mean, it is what it is. We're taking steps forward, and
yeah,
by all means, Yvette has by far earned this. There's not even a question in my mind.
I'm not saying she hasn't earned it. I'm saying that.
Oh no, yeah, I'm not. Don't take that the wrong way. I'm just I'm super hyped. That's all about
No,
that.
it's really cool. I'm glad that they're figuring it out, but it would be nice to have more. That's all I'm saying. I know that Fender's going to do a bunch of women's signature series instruments later this year. Can't wait to see what those are.
Oh yeah, I'm very excited, and I'm hoping to see more on that note from Summer NAMM, but we'll see what they've got in store for us. Third highlight, I could not tell you the brand name, and this is maybe I'm just being super gushy, but I was looking around for things that made people feel inclusive and or included in the experience of music. And I saw this really cool booth. There's a performance happening. I'm like, oh, that's a cool performance. And there's all the noise around me. I realize there's like no PAs or anything. I'm looking at everybody who's sitting in the booth, and they're all wearing these headphones. And it's like a simulcast headphone solution where not everybody surrounding has to listen in on it. And
like a silent disco?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I know it's not like the newest technology or like concept, but I thought that really stood out to me as a wow, like that's super great because there's a lot of people that helps bring into the fold of enjoying a musical performance.
Cool. Maybe it was.
So
Was it Shure?
no, it was
Austrian Audio.
I could not tell you the
Okay.
brand name. I was walking by passively, and that just really branded in my brain. I was like day 3, and I saw that like, oh, wait a minute, that's actually I dig
That's
that.
smart.
I really dig
Then
that.
they're not getting those booth closed notifications. Of all the brands that got closed, it was
Well,
that one?
yeah, well, I'm 90% sure it was that brand. I matched up the name with the what was on the map, but I'm hesitant to throw a brand under the bus
But just like
because I know that there's a little bit of shifting around like like after they had already printed
let's
the
just say
maps.
it was not an amp company.
It, if it is what the map says, I got it. I'm chuckling, but also super grateful to the sound police. Honestly, especially the first day as I was settling
Mhm.
in, I found myself stepping out to the smoke area, not to
Not to smoke.
not to smoke, just to
Give your ears a little rest.
let my ears
Yeah.
breathe. I did better about wearing earplugs the next couple of days. And taking care of my ears better. But
Yeah, that was earplugs is the advice I always hear from. I think Louise from Dwarfcraft was the first person who's like, if you go to NAMM, wear earplugs.
honorable mentions for cool stuff that I saw kind of falls back into the category of, or is less in the category of what I think is a game changer for inclusiveness and more of just what I thought was cool and things that I'll probably buy for myself. If money permits, is Walrus Audio's new stereo delay is everything that I want in a delay without screens and in a small package.
Oh yeah.
I was actually, and don't. This is going to be one of those like personal tastes. I typically haven't always loved walrus pedals. There's been a few that I found that to be absolutely phenomenal, but that's for what inspires me as a musician. Not all of it has really hit me in that spot, but plugging into this it was instant inspiration. It really took me by surprise in the best ways possible. It was really intuitive. One of the things that there's a couple of things fiddling around with it that really surprised me was it's the age, the mod, and there's like a 3-way toggle switch on the left side and with a tweak knob. So you flip the toggle and then you use the knob to adjust the parameter. And I just kind of assumed looking at you choose one of the 3 to tweak. And no, like it saves like the age of your delay. And then you can swap the toggle over to mod and then adjust the modulation. And it was so fast to dial in sounds, super intuitive. It sounded really great. The stereo was awesome. And also knowing that it does for the internal, it'll do stereo in, some to mono. So that way you could put that at the end of a chain and have the option of going stereo or mono instead of getting just the left side.
Yeah, that's important for the stereo pedals.
It just really struck me as a very well thought out, very comprehensive pedal. With some really great sounds in it. And congratulations to the Walrus folks. You absolutely blew me away. Another honorable mention would be for stuff that I really want is I went to the Dark Glass booth to try out some bass DI options, and the Alpha Omega specifically just super kicked me in the gut. It's got like this really great SVT, kind of like low end gut punchy steel string, or it was super thick. It was super punchy. I really loved it.
Nice.
For bass. And I played it through several different basses, and I was just really impressed across the board. And I'm probably going to have to get my hands on one of those soon for my bass rig. And then the final huge takeaway, and I mean takeaway literally, is my Jennings.
Ooh, yeah. I forgot all about that. So much happened.
It was, oh my God, it was jammy packed. Those of you who went to NAMM, you'll understand. No, so for day number 1, I drove down there. Chad Jennings was in the area as well, and he told me to meet him at this address. I showed up, I parked, I saw his truck. I'm like, "Yo, dude, I'm at your truck. Come out." And I was super excited. He came out, gave me a big old hug. It was super exciting. And then I go into the apartment that he's crashing at, and I walk in the door just so beyond psyched. I'm about to walk into NAMM for the first time. I'm about to get this guitar I've been looking forward to, and I walk in the door. I see Curtis Lamberton.
That's funny.
Like, dude. So he got a big hug. I also saw Brian and Bradford from Worship Tutorials, and that was super cool. Great to hang out with them for a little bit. And that reminds me, I need to get Curtis to send me. I think he took a video of me unboxing, like an unboxing video of me opening up the Jennings.
Cool.
It's less of an unboxing, more of like an ungig
I was about
bagging.
to say,
But
it sounds like it wasn't in a box, but I get it.
I didn't say a whole lot. It was one of those my face did things, and I'm kind of scared to see what that looks like, but also, it was candid. I don't think I realized Curtis was filming until like halfway through.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was cool. On the way in, randomly, met Ariel Posen. That was super wild. And I was like, okay, so it's going to be that kind of a trip. Day 1 was super jam packed. End of day 1, I went to the Gibson private event party. Shout out to Cameron from Gibbs Sunday for getting me in the door to that. Some great performances. I was really Slash got on stage. I'm like, oh, okay, yep. So this is happening.
Nice.
As well as some phenomenal players. I remember Emily Wolf got on stage with
yeah, she's a beast.
with an Epiphone, and I remember looking at that going,
it's her signature one, right? The matte black with the diamonds.
Yeah, I think. I remember looking at that. That doesn't look like an Epiphone I've seen before. That's got to be are they doing a signature for her? And then I think Blake Weiland from Tone Mob confirmed it? ?
No, it's confirmed.
Is it confirmed? Cool.
Yeah, I think 2021 release, perhaps. It's a prototype.
Well, I was super stoked on that.
Looks pretty dope.
Towards the end of the evening, I was using the restroom like a gentleman, and I finished up the urinal and turned around and was zipping up my fly, and Mark Agnesi is like, "Dude, how's it going?" And gave me a big old hug, and I'm not expecting that at all. And it was super how are you? How's the kid? How's the family? What have you been up to? And the thing that's wilding me out about that is I met Mark Agnesi once in person. I think 3, maybe even 4 years. It's probably more like 3 years ago. Before he joined Gibson. It was during his last year as at Norm's Red Guitars and Tarzana.
What a memory.
And yeah, that really threw me out. Threw me for a loop. So it's always good to see Mark. Let's see here. Day 2, okay, so you guys heard the interview with Yvette, which is super cool, but let me tell you how that happened. Because that wasn't exactly planned pre-NAMM. So I knew that she was going to do a performance at the Seymour Duncan booth at 2:30 on Friday. I'm like, cool. So I showed up to that. It was it's going to be at 2:30. I showed up early, and like 15 or 20 minutes early. And of course, it wasn't early enough, and the crowd was already jam packed. And I was like, all right, well, I'll stand at the back. And it was a great performance. And afterwards, I like trying to weave my way up to the front, and I just realized at a certain point, this ain't gonna happen. Gave up, and I was just kind of looking around to started walking to the back, and I over to the back or the front left, I see Corey from Earthquaker Devices. And I was like, oh, hey, it's so good to see you. And we got to talk, and he's like, so you're here to see Yvette? And I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's going to work out. The crowd is definitely pretty excited, and I don't see myself pushing my way to the front with that. He's like, David, the bass player for Covid's sitting right behind me, right? I was like, no, I didn't know that. Tell me, please do say more. So he walked over and he introduced me to the guy, super chill. And then he's like, all right, meet us at the Ibanez booth at 5:30 and we'll see what we can't make happen. And I'm like, all right, this is going to happen. Cool. I'm hyped. And I showed up at 5:20, 5:25 or so, like literally as Yvette's walking off with an entourage. I'm like, no, I missed it. And this Japanese gentleman looks at me and just like waves at me, like does like his palm in the air, like waves with his fingers back at him, like beckoning me to follow him. Like, okay, well, this will be cool. I guess I'll just follow and see what happens. And it just really like, just kind of hoping something like this ends up working out. And the Hoshino brands is just Tama at one side and Ibanez on the other side. They've got this like little business building right in the middle of it, like on the floor, with like a second floor. And he just asked you to wait at the bottom of the stairs. And I sit there for like 15 minutes, and David finally texts me. He's like, "Hey man, I don't know if it's gonna happen, but we're gonna be in Seattle in May. Like, let's work something out." And I was like, "Cool." It was great to meet David, super great guy. And so I started like turning everything off and packing everything up, and I get a tap on the shoulder, turn around, it's the same Japanese gentleman, and he says, "Mr. Renard," and I say, "Yes." He's like, "Okay, you follow me now."
All right.
I'm like, "Oh my god, it's happening!" So that, yeah, completely threw me for a loop. I was like turning on all of my stuff as I'm like walking up the stairs, like trying to get it all like connected, like an uncabled part of it, because it's like 5:30 is basically packing up for the day.
Right.
And yeah, so I got to hang out at the Yvette for about 20, 30 minutes or so. Got some of it on tape, got to chat off tape a little bit. It was a super good time. It was just super cool. I was sitting there just like, whoa, this is happening. Oh my goodness. Do I belong here? And yeah, like it was super cool. She was super rad. She couldn't have been nicer, more supportive. Once I explained to her what this show is and what we're doing and what we're trying to do, she was on board immediately.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
Cool.
So
well, sounds like you had a blast at NAMM, and borderline sad that I wasn't there, but I had plenty to keep me busy.
And real quick, I
Okay.
just made a comment about like feeling like, do I belong here, and like that kind of deep sense of like imposter syndrome of like, oh my, like I'm here, but like, oh my goodness, and just being kind of overwhelmed by the sheer mass. And I really felt this more on day one. And just to be completely transparent about it, like I definitely like walked in day one and just walked around for like an hour and an absolute daze, terrified to say hello to anyone. And I just kind of walking around, and I remember Dan from Reverb was like, "Hi, Andrew," and I was like, "Oh my golly, gee willikers, hi! It's good to meet you finally." And I talked for a little bit, and he offered some really kind, friendly some words about, as I was just sitting there like, "Well, you're asking me how I'm doing. I guess there's no reason for me to lie. I'm super overwhelmed. This is a lot to take in all at once." So I got to talk with him. He was super kind. Blake Weiland tapped me on the shoulder like literally 3 minutes after that. And I was like, "Oh man, like imposter syndrome's crazy." And he's like, I was like, "When does that go away?" And he's like, "It goes away." And I'm like looking at Blake. I'm like, "Do you like how you're Blake Weiland's? Like, what do you mean you?" Okay. And the ensuing conversations, and that was just a couple of highlights that really got the ball rolling. Day one, I got getting to talk with everybody and having that super transparent where we're all at, and kind of understanding that we're all just humans here. And I know it seems like on a surface level that seems like a very basic human concept to get my head around, but in person it was just so intimidating, and I could not have been I cannot be more thankful for the encouragement and the kind words that I had from everybody that I got to talk to, especially on that first day. It was really great of everybody, and definitely set the tone for the remainder of my time on the floor. Well, I guess with that in mind, as I think that makes for a great way to tie this whole episode up in a nice bow. Yeah, good gravy. I'm still I'm sitting here, and after listening to all of this and soaking it all in, there's just so much good stuff that happened, and I could not be more thankful for the opportunity to have gone to NAMM. Can't wait to go next year. I guess I'll just avoid getting any gushy. Thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate. Emily had to bounce, so I've been Andrew. She's been Emily. Bye.